Hey guys, and welcome to MGC's Top 10 Martial Arts Films. This is a list of my favorite martial arts films. It was really hard to pick with how many good ones there are. On this list, I ruled out any movies that use weapons more predominantly. That's like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. They use more swords than their fists in that movie. I'm going to make another list for those kind of movies in the future. But before we get started, let me show you all the movies that didn't make the list, but are definitely worth a watch.
Number 10.
On Bak, coming out in 2003, is a Thailand movie full of awesome Muay Thai fighting. When I first watched this movie, I had no idea what Muay Thai was, but this definitely piqued my interest and made me learn how a great martial arts it can be.
Now, come on! Fuck Muay Thai!
This movie stars the great Tony Jaa. This was the movie that made a lot of people notice who he was. This movie is full of high-octane flying knees and elbows, and just such great action scenes with no strings attached to their actors. There are a lot of crazy stunts he does in this movie. If you like movies with all real stunts and fun action scenes, this movie's a definite watch.
Number 9.
Big Boss, starring the great Bruce Lee, coming out in 1971. Bruce Lee plays the role of Shang. He moves to Thailand to work in an ice factory until things don't go as planned. This movie has a really good supportive cast of actors along with Bruce Lee. This movie is a revenge film and one of my favorite Bruce Lee movies. Obviously, with it being an older movie, it does have cheesy parts here and there. But I mean, that's what we get when, we watch older martial arts films. Still, the action keeps up with a lot of good fight scenes. And an enjoyable story to go along with it. This movie is a definite watch.
Number 8.
Flashpoint. Coming out in 2007, starring the amazing Donnie Yen, he plays the role of Inspector John May. He works alongside his undercover partner to take on drug dealers. Donnie does an amazing job in this film, and the story is good for a martial arts film, but the biggest highlight of this film is definitely the action. The action scenes in this movie are so beautifully choreographed. Donnie Yen definitely shows off his fighting chops in this movie. This movie is subbed, but there is a dubbed version of this, which I think is good enough to watch. When it comes to dubbed and subbed, I do prefer dubbed over subbed for the most part, depending on the dubs, just because I like paying attention to the actual movie and not focusing on reading while I'm trying to watch at the same time. This movie is a definite watch.
Number 7.
The Protector. Coming out in 2005 is a fun movie full of awesome action scenes. This is another movie on my list starring Tony Jaa, and he plays the role of Kam. This movie follows him in the search for his stolen elephants. This movie is great, full of really good cinematography and just wonderful action. The thing I really like about Tony Jaa films is he does all of his own stunts, and you can really tell while you're watching the film. This movie has a ton of action and really good scenes, and one of my favorites is the continuous shot they have of him running upstairs and fighting a bunch of guys, all in one shot. This is just an all-around, high-action stunt movie, and it's just really worth a watch.
Number 6.
Drunken Master. coming out in 1978, starring the always funny Jackie Chan. This movie is great. We follow Wong, where he gets in a lot of trouble, but he gets out of situations using his drunken boxing. Starring a young Jackie Chan, we get to see his awesome martial arts skills and his humor. This movie is subbed as well as dubbed. Obviously, I prefer watching it dubbed. I feel like it adds a little bit of the humor, not because the dubbed is bad, but some of the voice actors kind of do silly voices, and it does add to the humor to it. They have a bunch of fun fight scenes in this movie, and it's shot very well for an older movie, and one of Jackie Chan's best movies.
Number 5.
Fist of the Legend, coming out in 1994, starring the amazing Jet Li. I'm a huge fan of Jet Li's, and this movie is one of his best movies. He plays Chen, who returns to Japan after he hears about the death of his mentor, and he vows revenge. This movie is a remake of Bruce Lee's Fist of Fury. I personally think this version is a lot better, and Jet Li shows why he's one of the greatest martial artists of all time. Here's a scene where he goes into a dojo and fights a bunch of students, and it's a really great scene. Following a great story, we get to see some of the best action scenes we have seen him in. This is one of Jet Li's best movies. It's worth a watch. Now, the next 3 movies on my list are all combined with their sequels. I did this because I feel like they are just as good as their prequels, and they follow the movies perfectly.
Number 4.
Let's start this off with Undisputed 2 and 3. This is a big guilty pleasure of mine, but I still feel like it's a great fighting movie. Coming out in 2006 and 2010, these movies starred both great action stars Michael J. White and Scott Adkins. Now, before I get to the movies, you can tell this is number 2 and number 3. Well, Undisputed 1 came out in 2002, starring Wesley Snipes and Ving Rhames. Was it a good movie? Yeah, it was a good movie, but it's not anything like number 2 and 3. Plus, you don't have to watch number 1 to get number 2 and 3. Undisputed 2 follows Michael J. White playing George Chambers. He's a professional boxer who gets set up and is sent to prison, but in Russia, where he meets Yuri Boryka. He is the greatest fighter of all time. The movie's story is basic, but the fight scenes and the choreograph are amazing and makes up for it. Both actors do an excellent job. Scott Adkins does an excellent job with the character Yuri Boyka. Undisputed 3 picks up right where number 2 ended, but this time we're following Yuri Boyka as the main character. Moving to a new prison, and he's in a whole new fighting championship. Scott Adkins put on such an impressive performance, and his athleticism is just phenomenal in this movie. If you like fun, high-action movies, even with basic story plot, these movies are definitely for you. They're super fun and violent and just awesome movies.
Number 3.
The Raid Redemption and The Raid 2, coming out in 2011 and 2014. Starring Iko playing Rama, a cop, a part of an elite team of commandos who go and raid an apartment block to capture a crime lord. These movies are just great. The first movie has great action and amazing cinematography. A lot of scenes in this movie are so gripping and tense. The action in this movie is very violent, with an awesome knife scene that I just love. Very bloody and it's great. There are some great long fighting scenes in this movie that are just very entertaining. The Raid 2 takes what the first one gave us and ups it. Rama has to go up against even more deadly criminals this time. The mud fight scene in this movie is just great. Both movies have great story go along with the awesome action. One word, Hammer Girl. This girl is crazy and has some amazing scenes. These movies are awesome and a must watch.
Number 2.
Ip Man and Ip Man 2, coming out in 2008 and 2010. Starring once again Donnie Yen playing the great master Ip Man. These movies show the early life of Ip Man and show how great a martial artist he was. The first movie follows Master Ip Man as he lives his life and is challenged by a bunch of other martial arts, trying to see if he's really as amazing as everyone says he is. This movie has amazing cinematography, and the choreographed scenes are amazing. Good story to boot as well. There's a scene where he faces like a lot of fighters, and it is one of the hands down best scenes I've seen, not only just in this franchise, but just in martial arts films in general. Ip Man 2 is no slouch either. Ip Man 2 starts off with a poor Ip Man being a martial arts teacher for free. Just like the first movie, a lot of people test his abilities. A lot of great action scenes where we get to see him test his ability against a lot of great martial artists. He even gets to go up against a boxer, which follows a great East vs. West fight. These movies are among the best martial arts movies, and they are definitely worth a watch.
Number 1.
The Game of Death, coming out in 1978, starring the great Bruce Lee, in what I think is his best film. I've watched this so many times growing up, and to this day I still think it's one of his best. We follow an actor, Billy Lowe, who fakes his death and goes out to seek revenge. He fights his way up a tower where he faces many different fighters. This movie has a lot of memorable scenes, and who can't forget his awesome yellow jumpsuit. This movie has a lot of awesome action scenes, and his great presence on screen is amazing. This movie really captures how wonderful of a martial artist he was. The ending fight scene in this movie when he gets to the top of the tower, it's just phenomenal. It's just so fun to watch. This movie is a must-watch, not only if you're a martial arts fan, but if you're a Bruce Lee fan. And that is why Game of Death is my number 1 top martial arts film. Leave a comment down below with your top 10 favorite martial arts films. If you like this video, hit that thumbs up button. And if you guys want to see more, hit that subscribe button. And thanks for watching.